Hi, everyone. This is Mike Fink. I am your child's English teacher for this year. Thank you so much for viewing this presentation, this back to school night presentation. Even though I can't be there in person, I hope that this information is informative. And if you do have any questions, please let me know. I have some information on the final slide about contact information. So, first, a little bit about me, and then a little bit more about the class. All right, so a little bit about me. This is my 15th year here at Council Rock North. It's really the only real job I've ever had ever since I graduated college. This is the full-time career that I've ever had, and I don't think I'll be anywhere else. As well as teaching English 10, I also teach English 9. I'm also in charge of the Student Executive Board at Council Rock North, which is SEB. So we're in charge of bigger events like Blue and White Night and the Talent Show and Mr. CRN. Went to Villanova for my undergrad and my master's at St. Joe's University. And a little bit about myself personally. I have two boys. One's name is Liam. The other is EJ. Liam is 10 and EJ is 8. And there they are right there. First day of school yesterday. Okay, so these are some expectations that I have of all my students. I just want to go over these kind of quickly. So I have students should, I wrote be present. Now, I don't mean obviously being present in class. I mean being like mentally with us, keeping up with work, keeping up with discussion, volunteering, being able to take a risk in English class. And sometimes you have success and sometimes you don't have success, but just being there and not, quote unquote, phoning it in for English. I know that English is probably not your son or daughter's favorite subject. It may even be their least favorite subject. And that's okay. But I want them to grow as learners. I want them to grow as individuals and as readers in our class. And the way they do that is being present, being physically present in class, but also like being with us. Number 2 up there says being flexible. And I try to be really flexible with the kids. If they reach out in terms of needing an extension for something, I'm usually pretty good at getting back to them and giving them that. I ask them to be flexible with me. I've taught English 10, I think pretty sure every year that I've been at Council Rock North. And if 10th grade English was taught the same way, time after time after time after time, I would get bored. So I try to do different things. And sometimes those things work out and sometimes they don't work out. So I just ask the students to be flexible with me. Being prepared in the English classroom, we are almost entirely digital. Canvas is used daily. Chromebooks are used extensively in class. So really the only way that they need to be prepared is having a charged Chromebook every day, having their homework done, and having a good attitude. Really, that's what it takes to be prepared in our class. Be ready to learn. Being organized as a 21st century student, really their only organization is time management and can they organize their digital life. So for time management, they need to, they're in 10th grade now, they need to step up and realize that due dates are important and that some due dates are closer than others, and they need to prioritize some things and not procrastinate. The other way they can be organized is if they organize sort of their digital life. And what I mean by that is, they have Google Drives, and most kids' Google Drives are just all over the place. And yeah, I know they have find functions and search functions, but it's much easier if things are a little bit more organized. So I try to preach that a little bit as well. Next one says try your best. Like I said a few minutes back, English is probably not their favorite subject. It probably doesn't come easy to them, but that doesn't mean they can't meet me halfway and try their best. I'm going to give them my effort. I want that effort right back from them. And it is going to be a struggle at times, but that struggle is going to ultimately lead to success in the classroom. And finally, the last bullet point there says to communicate and to advocate for themselves. They're growing up. I really try to push this with freshmen. So, your sons and daughters have had another year of this. And that is if they're going to be absent or if they're struggling in class, I encourage them to reach out to me. I do want to hear from you, but I'd rather hear from them first because they need to have a little ownership of their grade and they need to have, they need to be invested. So, yes, if things get out of hand and I need to bring you in the loop, absolutely feel free always to email me and I'll be happy to keep that communication open. But I do want to hear from your sons and daughters and let them sort of advocate for themselves. Something that we're doing a little bit differently this year is we're using a program. There's a little icon in the top right-hand corner called Actively Learn. Some teachers were using it last year. I wasn't really using it as much, but our district full on bought into this program. And Actively Learn is sort of a game changer. It is all of those texts that you see listed there are available on Actively Learn besides the Catcher in the Rye. So if you're like, well, where are your books that you're reading in English class? Well, they're going to be done online other than Catcher in the Rye. But Actively Learn has the entire text of the book, and there's comprehension questions embedded into the text. And the students can't move on to the rest of the text unless they answer the question. And if they answer it wrong, it's going to show them why they're wrong, and it's going to prompt them to do a similar question in a few minutes. And if they get it correct, it's going to let them continue on and read more of the story. So the titles are listed there. Like I said, if you are a little concerned about where the reading books are, it's almost exclusively going to be done online. For English 10, just like last year, they are using the program for vocabulary called Membean. They will do 3 15-minute training sessions every week on an average week. And then they will be tested roughly about every other week. So every 2 weeks, they'll have a vocabulary test. Ninth graders did wonderful last year. They really, really, really did a nice job with this. This was a new program last year. I was sort of a little bit unsure about it, but the students really, really are using vocabulary in their everyday lives, whether it's speaking, whether it's writing, and they had a lot of success with this program. Just wanted to point out, and I have it in bold there, that the training sessions as well as the assessments, the tests, are 15% of their marking period grade. On this slide, I have some topics that we'll do in terms of writing, and then some topics that we'll cover in grammar. And I have another icon down there called Quill. This is one of those things I'm trying this year. I haven't used it yet. I'm going to try it out, see how it goes. Other teachers, again, have had a lot of success with this program. It kind of combines grammar and writing and improving of sentences. So the kids will do sort of a training session with this per week as well, maybe even 2 per week. One thing I do want to point out with the writing, the very bottom of that list says research-based iSearch required paper. And iSearch is just where the students themselves come up with the topic. In years past, usually they get a list of topics that they have to choose from. In this case, there's pretty much endless topics they can choose from, but I'll kind of help them to sort of hone that topic down a little bit. All right, here's where we get to the grades. So the first and the second marking periods are calculated the same, and the third and the fourth marking periods are calculated the same. So vocabulary, that's what I just spoke about a few minutes back. That is 15% of their grade. Okay, they spend about 15% of the time every week in class doing vocab, so that's why we chose 15%. Everything else, so tests that are not vocabulary, quizzes, projects, written assignments, essays, classwork, homework, participation, all that stuff goes into another category, and that's worth the remaining 85%. That's, again, for the first and the second marking period. Third and fourth marking periods are a little bit different. Vocabulary still stays 15. The other category gets dropped down to 60%, and the remaining 25 goes to either the research paper that I just spoke of, the iSearch, that's in third marking period, or in the fourth marking period, it would go to their final exam. And if you add those 3 numbers up, that gets up to 100. Some other sort of random things I put here on the end of the slide, this last slide of this presentation. Canvas, like I mentioned with the Chromebooks, that they are almost exclusively what we're using every single day in class. Canvas is a huge, huge tool for us every single day in the classroom. That's a really good way to get a snapshot of your child's success in English class. Second bullet point talks about absences. I give the students a week to make up any missed assessments, meaning tests. After that, then I'm holding back other students from getting back their assessments. Places that you or your child can check if they've missed something They can check the Canvas calendar. The students would know where that was on Canvas. The Canvas to-do list that appears on the right-hand side of their dashboard, as it's called. And finally, the weekly agenda that I'll put on to Canvas as well. Third bullet point talks about HAC, HAC, and assessment return. So HAC is Home Access Center. The only thing I'm really using Home Access Center for now these days is to input interim grades at the midway point and final grades for the marking period. So I'm only really using that 8 times per year. If you really want the most up-to-date grade for your son or daughter, Canvas is the place to go. Assessment return, as soon as I grade something on Canvas, it'll push out that grade to your son or daughter and most likely you as well. Sometimes I have to hold grades back because students haven't made them up, as I spoke to about absences before. So I try to get those absences taken care of quickly so that we can move on. Finally, the last two are just dates that I think are important. So we have the first interim reports. That's that midway point of the marking period, October 3rd. So we're already less than a month away from that. And at the end of the first marking period, those grades are due on November the 8th. That marking period closes on that day. And if there was to be an issue with a grade, if a student was performing poorly, I would be in contact with you way before November 8th. I don't like surprises. I'm sure you don't either. Hopefully, we all have success and your students all have success. But if there is something I do need to contact you about a grade, it'll be well in advance of the end of the marking period. I know it's, this is a weird way of communicating information from back to school night, but I am really happy that you stuck with me till the end of this video. I appreciate you watching. Sorry I couldn't meet you in person. I'm happy to answer any questions or concerns via email. I'm always here to help your kids, whether that be before or after school. I'm happy to do it. I'm usually around at least 45 minutes after school every day. And a lot of times those conversations that I need to have with your kids are probably only about 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So if you can provide a way for them to get home, I'm happy to meet with them and work with them on anything that they may need. Last but not least, I mentioned this at the beginning. This is just my email address. And if you do have any private comments or concerns, the email's there. Canvas also has a message function that you can message me that way. Either one of those will get to me pretty quickly. I'm sorry I couldn't be there tonight, but I do hope that we get to talk. And hopefully it's only for good reasons. But I really am looking forward to this school year with your son or daughter. Thank you so much for spending your time with me.